right, so I went and got some parts for the cart. I got these C-channel steel plates. I couldn't find a full steel plate, so I got these C-channels that I should be able to mount this engine to, and I can basically cut these as far as I want to come back as far. And then my plan is, once the motor mounts are mounted on each of these, I can use the aluminum plate that's under the engine right now, cut it where I need to, get the jack shaft mounted, and get all the chain and everything lined up. All right, so fast forward a little bit. I've got one steel beam mocked up with these, I think they're about 1.5 inch spacers underneath, just to raise the engine a little bit, because this is gonna be running a CVT down to this jack shaft, and this drive pulley has to be high enough to where it clears all this and the belt doesn't interfere with this beam. So the jack shaft's probably gonna actually have to be raised even more than the engine. But right now, I'm trying to get this mocked up and bolted down just so we can run it, because it still needs to go through the break-in period. It hasn't been ran yet. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. This one's gonna have to be cut shorter because it's gonna interfere with the sprocket. That's another thing. This jack shaft has to be lined up with the sprocket and high enough to where this drive pulley also clears. So I'm trying to kind of figure out how that's gonna work right now. This obviously needs to be cut shorter, but I'm thinking about using that plate somehow with this jack shaft to get everything lined up. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and figure that out. All right, so I got the engine kind of mounted up. This secondary plate right here is just sitting there for the time being, just to give it a steady spot. The other side is actually bolted down. What I'm doing right now is I have my ignition wired up to the front, running back, and I'm gonna put in this 4-pin connector so that way the engine's not hardwired to the cart and I don't have to cut the wires to take it off. I just unsnap the connector. Pretty simple, just extended all the wires. But yeah, that's what's going on right now. And then hopefully be able to add some oil and get this thing running and kind of get it broken in. Then we can go ahead and finish mounting everything up, figure out how the jack shaft is gonna work and all that good stuff. Well, boys, it's running. It is running. We got oil in it. Kill switch is wired up. Let me break in for a little while. But it is running and it fits. This is awesome. All right, so I have decided this is exactly where the engine needs to be. This exhaust is gonna have to go because just the slightest bump hits the frame, because this is a cradle for the engine that is connected directly to the coilovers. So I'm probably gonna route this through the back here. This is gonna get cut shorter once I have the plate mounted for the torque converter. The other one's gotta get added. Only thing that is not working currently is the kill switch. The starter's not wired up yet. I haven't put the starter cables on yet, but it does not kill when I hit the kill switch. So I'm not sure if the starter has to be wired up for that to work, but that's all I can test. I can only test to see if it kills, and it will start with the kill switch off, in the off position. So double check the wiring. It doesn't seem to be wrong, but I'm gonna have to go over it again. I don't know if the little connector's having something to do with it or what, but that's stopping it from killing right now. But it is running fine. It's running pretty good. It fits in there pretty nice. Besides that exhaust, I don't think anything else should be in the way. Like hitting wise, I still need to figure out this jack shaft and CVT situation, and then figure out how I'm gonna run the chain to the sprocket. But other than that, it's going pretty well so far. So I'll probably pick this back up whenever I have a solution for the kill switch and when I have more time to work on the CVT. It is Sunday today when I'm recording, and I'm about out of time, so I'm gonna have to push this video back a little bit, but we're getting close. We're getting really close. So I'll pick this back up when I've got time. All right, so I finally cut this one shorter, cut all the rest of this off. It's not sticking 3 feet out the back. My plan is still to mount that plate on top of here across, leave a spot for the drive pulley to connect to here. Also chop the end of the exhaust off so it doesn't interfere with the frame. This is gonna be temporary. I'm gonna figure something else out. But I'm running into another problem now. I can't show you because it's jacked up. But when the suspension hits, the starter hits this bar. Only thing is, I would just cut this bar out, but seatbelt's connected to it. And if I'm gonna autocross this, I don't think, if I were to cut it here and here, I don't know if that would be counted as structurally stable enough for autocross. So I'm gonna have to check into that, but if I can, that bar's gone. Because I want this engine to be as far forward as possible. So I have room for the jack shaft and all that. But I don't think it's gonna work right now with this bar hitting the starter. All right, back today. I've been having an issue with the kill switch not working. Starter works, the kill switch doesn't, and I've narrowed it down. I pulled everything back apart, and it's something in this splice. This goes to the oil pressure sensor. This is connected directly to the magneto. This runs up to the switch. So they're all connected right here. And if I ground this, it dies. But if I ground this splice, it doesn't do anything. So that means these two wires are probably not connected in here. Like, the wire's probably broken. So I'm gonna pull that apart and hopefully get this kill switch working. All right, kill switch is solved. I had an issue with the splice here. Ended up reconnecting it. This wire going to the switch wasn't connected. So just gotta heat up this heat shrink, get it all back together. Kill switch works now. Whole wiring harness is connected, got a positive battery cable. I actually ended up tucking all this underneath this door panel right here so you can't see it from the outside. Tried to get this behind the beam up to here. This needs to be cleaned up a little and into the box. So everything works now. Just got to finish mounting the engine. Torque converter, said that probably just a couple seconds ago in this video, but this is a whole week later from when I was last recording. So I'm gonna get to that tomorrow. All right, so I kind of got this CVT semi mocked up. When I'm holding up this middle shaft, the chain is still gonna be too close to here. It actually hits a little. So I've thought about it. I know I have the starter problem hitting up here, and I do have room on these rails. I can drill new holes and move the whole engine back, move the CVT back, and this will come further back so it's not hitting. That's the main problem, is that this chain can't go underneath here. It has to go up onto the jack shaft, back down onto the sprocket. And right now it's very close here. And the belt that I have is not long enough to go any further back. This is all clearing fine over here. It's clearing the shock. It is gonna suck to change belts though, because this is just, it's a finger. That's how much room I have. This belt is pretty thick. I don't know if it's even gonna be possible to change the belt with all this together, honestly, without taking the shock off. But yeah, that's kind of my plan now, is to move this engine back maybe an inch or two, probably 2 inches, as far back as I can go until I run into the mount bolts right there. But yeah, that's gonna be the plan. Move it back, get the starter off, and let this chain sit a little further back so it's not hitting. All right, so I got this whole thing buttoned up. It doesn't look good. This was the original bracket for the fuel tank, but I figured out the CVT, jack shaft, all that mounting. So the problem I was having is that there's these 2 steel beams that come all the way back. This one couldn't come back because it'd be in the way of the sprocket. So I only had this one, and you can actually kind of tell it is a little bent, but I added this support beam going across. I'm gonna get all this welded and make it look way better. This is just temporary so I can drive it. And then, like I said, this is for the fuel tank. And what I have going on right now is I just have a spacer with the bolt. Since this isn't long enough, this goes up, and this is double nutted. Since this likes to bend, I can use this as a chain tensioner tighten this bolt, let it off, and puts tension on the chain. CVT got it lined up, spaced correctly. It is very close to here, but it doesn't touch, so that's good. Also, this bolt since it only is mounted in the center right here, this controls my sideways movement. I'm really thinking about getting rid of all of this and just going to a solid steel plate all the way back. Engine, jack shaft, all of it mounted on the same. Only thing I haven't figured out is the jack shaft is gonna have to be mounted higher than the engine so this drive pulley clears. But this does work. The engine needs a new jet because I have exhaust and intake on it, and it doesn't like the stock jet. It doesn't like to be floored or anything, so that needs to be changed. But this does work. So here's some clips of me ripping this thing.